everybody. I wonder if it's because if it was a weird week. Okay, so this is from this presentation right here, the notes that are linked. If you guys want to follow along, you can. Okay, and you guys did a reflection. If you didn't do the reflection, I think you two did, but for those of you listening at home, do the reflection. So people said, like, I still get mean and median mixed up. What would be the key factor in telling them apart? Mean is the average, and median is the number in the middle. And that's just the definition. I don't really know how else to go into that. I'm going to contact this person. Honestly, I'm so confused over the math. I don't know how to do word problems and what's talking about. Yeah, I need to talk with them. So somebody says, do you have to print your resume for a job interview, or can you leave it in a Google Doc? The best thing to do, so if you're applying for like a low-level job, you want to bring a paper copy of your resume with you. You want to show up and be proactive and take that paper copy and say, hey, my name is Brittany and I'm really interested in this position. I saw you were hiring and I wanted to drop my resume by. And that way you have something to give them. And people even like it when you give them something, okay? So you want to have a paper copy for lower level jobs. For higher level jobs, usually you don't go in and ask, you have to call because, you know, there's gatekeepers, there's secretaries, and you're not going to speak to the hiring manager anyway, or you're going through the hiring process. And so you don't want to turn it in as a Google Doc. What you can do is you can hit up here, file, and then hit print. And that'll allow you to print it as a PDF. And you want to submit it as a PDF, okay? So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. All right, this is still open. If you guys want to fill out the no need to know, if you guys want to add something to it, I'll keep going back to that. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about banking, and then debits and credits and all that. So everybody said that they use a bank. That took the it's your paycheck number 3. And I personally am a huge believer in banks, and I think almost everybody should use a bank. It's not my job to tell you you have to use a bank, or like you're not doing well if you don't use a bank. But from my experience, you know, banks are a necessary tool to help you build wealth. And I remember when I got my bank account in high school and I just picked a bank. I think I just saw a bank and I said, Mom, I want to go there and open up a savings account. My mom was a very good mother in that she encouraged me in what I wanted to do. And so she said, okay, well, let's go in and sign you up for a bank savings account. And they had this book, and it was a little itty bitty book, and it had hardcover, and it had these pages. And I remember it was so cool to get this book. And what you would do is you'd bring your book in. So I didn't have a card, I don't think, but I had this book. And you bring your book in when you deposited money or took out money, you would put the book in their printer and it would print on the book like, you know, a debit or a credit. And the debit means you take money out, right? So debit is a withdrawal of money, and a credit means you add it in. Think about, you have a debit card. You have a debit card, you swipe a debit card, it takes money out of your account. And if you have a credit card, you swipe a credit card, you're actually putting money into, you're actually getting money. Okay, so credit card, you swipe a credit card, it's not taking money out of anything. Yes, later you have to pay the credit card back, but you swipe a credit card, you get money. Okay. But I remember taking it in there and they put it in the machine, and it gave me a credit because of interest. And the interest back when I was a kid was about 6%, 7%. And so I got like great money off of nothing. And that's, you guys live in a different world. It's not that way anymore. You guys sign up for a bank account now and they give you interest at like 0.07% or 0.01%. And you need to understand where those interest rates come from and what drives interest rates and what those rates mean. And we're going to get into that later in the course, hopefully. But, you know, I remember seeing this credit on my savings book, and I remember being like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. Like, or this is so great. Like, how did this happen? And ever since then, like, I've been a saver. And, you know, if I'm going to give my money to a bank, what I'm really saying is I'm going to trust these people with my money, and it's a relationship. It's a trusting relationship, you know. Um, the people that don't bank, a lot of times it's because they don't trust the bank with their money. And the banks need to earn your trust. And if you're going to use the bank, you're giving them your trust, right? Do you guys agree with that? Feel free to use the chat or you can speak up. But do you guys agree with that? Hello?
I agree with it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it totally is. When you think about money and how we interact and banks hold the money, it's really about trust. And so okay, so how do banks make money? All right, do you guys know how banks make money? How do you think banks make money? If they pay me to keep my money there, if they're right now they're not paying very much, but if banks pay people to keep their money there, how do you think they make money?
Probably by having many people that bank with them.
Having many people that bank with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I mean that they take all these people's money and they hold it and then they pay an interest on top of it. So they pay them to keep the money there. But if you know, they're paying for the branch, they're paying for the ATM, they're paying for their web services, they're paying people to have money. So far we're paying. And yeah, people do give banks money, but it's not like, hey, here's some money, it's yours. It's here's this money, hold it for me. It's my money still. So the way banks make money is they take the money that you, Brittany and Jesse and me, Mr. Brooks, deposit, and they loan it out to other people. And so they loan money. And so if we all, between all of us, gave the bank like $500 or $1,000, the bank would take that $1,000 or whatever, and they would loan it to someone else to start a business, or they'd loan it to somebody else to buy a car, or they'd loan it to somebody else to buy a house. And when people borrow money from the banks, they pay the bank back the amount that they borrow plus interest. And so the banks always charge a higher interest for people borrowing money than they pay in interest for people saving money. So for us, they might pay us 0.1%. Okay. And they might pay us 1%. They might pay us 2%, but they're gonna pay us less than the person borrowing the money is going to pay them. So when they loan somebody that $1,000 to buy a car, the person's going to pay $1,000 back, plus they're going to pay back 8% interest, 9% interest. And so the bank takes in our money and then they give it to somebody else. And on that money they loan, they get interest back. Now they can do that because we're putting our money in the bank for them to store. And the bank knows that we are not going to take out our money, right? I mean, we might take it out, but not all of us at once. Okay. And that's why they have all this cash so that they can loan it out. So the banks need people to give them money so they can loan it out to other people. All right. Does that make sense? You guys understand what I just said there? Jesse, you got to type in a little bit, kid. Jesse, this is a test. Are you at your keyboard? Okay. All right. So there's another way that banks make money, and every bank is different. This is from BB&T, and I don't pay bank fees. I don't. I think bank fees are ridiculous. So I currently bank at PNC, and I have a checking account that does not charge me money for the services that I use. Now I can choose to use other services, and I would pay the bank money for those services. But you might bank at a place that does charge fees, and the fees are another way for the banks to make money. So you see a monthly maintenance fee. They might charge a monthly fee on people, but then this account, you can get out of it. If you have a $1,500 monthly average balance, then you don't have to pay the $12. So what does that mean? That means that if you keep money in the bank knows that you are going to keep money there, and that they can loan the money out to other people so they can make money. And if you don't keep money in there, then they're going to charge you a fee for holding that small amount of money. Okay. They get money for using ATMs in some cases. They get money for overdraft. They get money for a return item fee. That would be like a check you write. If you write a check and the check, or no, if you cash a check, if you try to deposit a check and the check is bad, the check bounces, then they would charge you a fee. Overdraft protection fee. There's other fees, online check images. If you need images of the checks you wrote, they might charge you for that. If you need a copy of your statement, stop payment, official check, you can buy an official check is a more secure check. So the banks also make money off of those fees as well. And this is why some people don't trust banks, is because some of these fees are really hard to look up. Like, so I'm going to go to this link and I'm going to look up BB&T, and I'm going to say account specific fees. And this, I think this is already for Kentucky. So let's pick one. Let's say elite work. Okay. So this is an elite work fee. You have all this, and imagine if you had like a 5th grade reading level, and you didn't have a financial math class, or you don't understand all the vocabulary. Like, this is actually set up pretty well. But if you are struggling to read, if you struggle to understand what all these are, or if the bank doesn't put it like this and they bury it in a big document, or they don't publish their fees, you don't know where to go, all of a sudden you have this $36 overdraft fee. You're like, where is this coming from? That's how people lose trust in banks. Okay. And so hopefully banks don't do something to ruin people's trust, but banks are secure. So some people say, well, I don't trust the bank because banks can get robbed. I don't trust the banks because, what if the banks lose my money? Well, if you are a registered bank, then they have what's called FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Company or Corporation. Okay. What does FDIC do for you as a consumer or the bank? All right. FDIC means that if you have up to, I'm going to remember, it might be like 100,000, might be 400,000, but if you have up to a certain amount, then the federal government guarantees your money. Okay, now think about, like, if the bank goes under and fails, like goes bankrupt, or maybe a whole bunch of bank money gets stolen. Okay, the federal government will come in and guarantee your deposits. So if you have $10,000 in savings and your bank fails, the federal government will make sure you get your $10,000 back. Okay, so the your money in the bank is guaranteed by the federal government to be safe. Okay, and that helps build the trust, right? The FDIC was not always there. If you ever read about history, you might have heard of the Great Depression, and all these people took out their money out of the banks, and then the banks failed, because if everybody withdraws the money from the banks have no money. Well, the banks don't have all the money to cover everybody because they've loaned out some of the money. The banks, might have $10 million in deposits from all their customers, but they might have loaned out $6 million. And so if everybody comes and demands their $10 million at the same time, the bank only has $4 million. They can't give it to everybody. And so that's where, banks have failed in the past because they couldn't pay out people's deposits. The FDIC is handled by the Federal Reserve, and it guarantees your deposit. So if your money is in the bank, it is safe. If your money is in your home and you have a pack of cash at home, maybe under a mattress or in a wall where nobody's going to find it, and your home catches fire and burns down, that cash is not guaranteed to be insured. If your home catches fire and the cash burns up, or if the cash is stolen, then you might be out that. Whereas when your cash is in a bank, it is guaranteed by the federal government. Okay. So putting your money in the bank is supposed to be safer than keeping it at home. All right. Does all that make sense? Okay. Banks are competing for your deposits, and that's why they offer interest. Okay. And the reason interest should be so important to you is because you want your money to not be hurt by inflation. Okay, so what's inflation? Brittany or Jesse, do you guys know what inflation is? Okay, Brittany says no. Jesse, do you know what inflation is? Inflation is the concept that a McDonald's cheeseburger used to cost 15 cents. And you can go to McDonald's and buy a cheeseburger for 15 cents. And now if you go to McDonald's and buy a cheeseburger, it's $1.39. Okay, it's the same cheeseburger, and it costs more money to buy the cheeseburger. And why does it cost more money? Because the cost of the meat has gone up, because the cost of the workers has gone up, the cost of the bread has gone up, the cost of the cooking oil has gone up. The cost of things have always traditionally gone up. That is inflation. The value of your money right now has more value than it will in the future. You might have $5 in your pocket right now. And if you spend that $5 today, you can get more than if you were to try to save that $5 and spend that same $5 2 years from now. Okay, does that make sense? So the value of your money is going to decrease over time. It's very natural for that to happen. That's called inflation. All right. And you need to find a way to keep the value of your money from deteriorating due to inflation. So if you have $5,000 in savings, you don't want the value of that $5,000 to go down. And so the bank might offer you an interest rate, and they might pay you for your deposits, and that protects you from inflation. Okay. All right. Any questions on inflation? All right. I would definitely take note of that, inflation versus interest. That's really what you guys want to know. Okay. All right. So what is interest? Interest earned is when you save money or bank, they'll pay you to look after the money. Okay. But it works the other way too. If you have a credit card, you pay interest on your loan of the credit card. Or if you take out a home loan, you don't just pay back the principal. So if I borrow $200,000 for a house, I'm not going to pay the bank back $200,000. No, they're going to charge me interest. So I have to pay back $200,000, and I might have to pay an additional like $80,000. So it costs me money to borrow money. Okay. And there's a simple way to calculate simple interest. And this is what you guys got to know. It's called the interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. Or, as said, sometimes interest is used for S, for sum, and sometimes it's just I for interest. But it's essentially P times R times T. Principal times rate times time. So for example, if you have $100 and you get 6% for 1 year, then it's $100 times 0.06. You're changing the percentage to a decimal times 1. Okay. Now, if you are dealing with $100 at 6% for 3 years, it's 100 times 0.06 times 3. So the time in this case goes in years. Okay, and that's how you calculate simple interest. Okay, then there's compound interest. Let me bring up It's Your Paycheck number 3. Is it 3 or 4? Let me bring up. It's not 3. It's the next one. I haven't put it in yet. Okay. Okay. All right. I will make sure to get that in. I've been so focused on algebra 2. Let me see if I can find it real quick. There's 6. It is 6. It's not 3, it's 6. Okay, it is 6. Okay, so you guys have done this. This is posted. Okay, so here's a simple interest formula. I equals PRT, interest, principal, rate times. So if you were to do like this one right here, okay. How much interest do you owe on a loan for $4,000? So $4,000 is the principal. And then 2.5% is R and time is 5 years. So it'd be $4,000 times 2.5%, but don't put percent. Okay, remember, whenever you do calculations with percentages, you need to change it to a decimal. So divide by 100, so 0.025, right? That's 2.5%, right? Times 5 years. And that's ugly, so I'm going to redo that 5. All right, now, do you see how easy it is to calculate simple interest? Okay, it's just 3 numbers multiplied. And when you take a loan out, or when you make an investment, or you deposit money into a bank, you need to be able to think about what controls the interest. It's how much you put in, which you have sometimes less control over. It's the rate. So when you shop for a bank, when you shop for a place to put your money, you want to look at the rate. And you want to think about time. The longer you leave your money into an account, the more interest you're going to earn. And the longer you take a loan out, so maybe you get a car and you have a choice. You have to take a loan out for a car. You have a choice between a 3-year loan and a 5-year loan. The longer the time is, the more you're going to pay in interest. So you're looking at rate, time, and principal. But again, sometimes you can't control the principal. If you're taking out a loan, you need to take out the loan. If you can reduce the amount of loan you take out, if you can reduce the amount you borrow, you pay less in interest. If you put more money in the bank, you get more in interest. Okay. So do you guys see how easy it is to calculate simple interest? What do you guys think about that? And Abby, welcome. Thanks for coming. Hope you're doing well. This is paycheck 6. It's your paycheck 6, by the way. All right, any questions on simple interest? Okay. Now, there is simple interest, but there's also compound interest. Okay. Simple interest means you're going to borrow money and we're going to calculate how much interest you owe. Compound interest says that you're going to what did I say? Borrow money for simple interest. So let's take that again. Let's take you're going to borrow money, okay, and you're going to pay it back, but you can pay back different rates, like a different amounts, like a credit card. And whatever you don't pay back is going to compound onto or add on to what's going to be charged interest. Okay, compound interest is where you have a reassessment of or a recalculation of your interest rates. Okay, so maybe on month 1 of the credit card, you owe $5,000 and you calculate interest on $5,000, and then maybe on month 2 of their credit card, you owe $4,500, and so it calculates interest on that, and it re-ups. Now, that means that every time you calculate that, you're going to potentially owe more. Obviously, if you bring the principal down, you're going to owe less. Or think about if you have a savings account. Okay, so the first month you have $100 and it pays you interest for the month. Then the next month you have over $100. Let's say you get that 6%. Okay, so then you're going to earn interest on the $106. And then the next month you're going to earn interest on that. It'll be about $113. Okay, so compound interest, it's just the one brings it to 100%, and then you just put the number of years invested as an exponent. Okay, so let's find a compound interest. Okay, so let's say your deposit $7,500 into an account that earns 2% interest. So $7,500, and then it's 1 plus the rate. So what's the rate? 2%. So it's 0.02. And then over 10 years. Okay, so now you can simplify this, okay? You can say this is 7,500 times 1.02 to the 10th power. Okay, so see how the 1 adds in to the percentage? Okay. Now, compound interest works very different than simple interest. Okay, and I want you to see the difference. So right here, this is compound interest. And you see how over the short term, compound interest does not change very much from its simple interest. But over the long term, there's a bigger and bigger and bigger difference between compound and simple interest. Do you see that? This is where debt with compound interest gets people in trouble. You hear about these people with credit card debt that's uncontrollable and they never can pay it back, or also maybe student loans. Well, if you allow compound interest to accumulate over time, you can see it grows very fast. And that's where people get into debt. They don't understand that compound interest is going to just blow up on them. Okay, now take it the other way. If you are investing money, okay, and you find a bank or some kind of firm that offers you compound interest, and they do, and you leave your money in a compound interest account over time, you will get rich. Okay. It takes time. It's all dependent on rate and time. But you can see over time, compound interest is going to accelerate and accelerate and accelerate upwards, whereas simple interest follows a linear path. You guys remember that word linear over back in algebra 1, algebra 2? And then compound interest is exponential function. And of course, the compound interest has the exponent, right? The 10 years is to the 10th power. Okay. So not only are you going to look at your rate when you invest your money and time that you get to invest your money, but you're going to look out to see if your money is being invested in a compound interest account or a simple interest account. You could get rich off simple interest, but it takes a long time. You will get rich off of compound interest, but it takes time. Not as long as simple interest. But if you can find a good rate for your money and you can save money and put it in a compound interest account, you will get rich. 100%. Okay. You guys believe in yourselves now? You guys think you can make it in this crazy world? Compound interest is interest earned on money that was previously earned. It's the best thing ever. Albert Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this assignment next week. Okay, and all right, questions for today. Brittany, any questions? Abby, any questions? Jesse, any questions? Did you guys learn something new?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
And I learned something new. So
Awesome. Jesse, any questions? Abby, any questions?
You just asked me. I said no.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Looking ahead. This is us. Okay, I failed to post the assignment for today, so I'm gonna call this a remediation day, okay? And I also realized I failed to post this, so I will post this right here as soon as we get off, so you can work ahead if you want. And I will have all of next week's posted by tomorrow morning, okay? It's your paycheck number 7 is one of my favorite little things, and I'm out of time, so I'll talk about that next week. But hopefully you guys are going through these. I plan on trying to get the grades updated by tomorrow. Of course, I'm doing everything by tomorrow, right? I had a really crazy hectic weekend. I was thinking I could get in here Tuesday. Ha 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 ha. Joke's on me.